Last year, we did a video on the 7 best footballers of 2017 as we went into the new year. It didn't do great, so we're probably not going to do it again this year, but we are going to take a look at 7 of the most improved players this season today, and then probably 7 players who need or deserve January transfers before we go into 2019. From a change of club to a change of management or systems, there are so many factors that can cause an upturn or downturn in a player's form. Today, we wanted to take a look at some players who we feel have made the biggest improvements in terms of their form so far this season in comparison to the way in which they were playing last term. Here are our 7 most improved players this season. Luke Shaw. It's been a really mixed few years for Luke Shaw, who became the most expensive teenager in world football when Manchester United first signed him for £30 million in the summer of 2014. Shaw has played in less than a third of Manchester United's league games since then, managing just 55 Premier League appearances in 4.5 years, thanks in no small part to the shocking double leg fracture that he sustained in September of 2015. It's been a long road back to recovery for the former Southampton man, and a fairly bumpy road at that. Former United boss Jose Mourinho didn't always speak in glowing terms about his young left back, who often found himself behind makeshift left back Ashley Young in the United pecking order. Shaw made just 11 appearances in the league last season, being axed at half-time towards the end of the campaign and called out in public by his own manager. This season has seen a real turnaround in fortunes for the 23-year-old though, as his bright early season form forced United into handing him a new 5-year deal on improved terms. Shaw has had the odd knock here and there once again this season, and he'll be determined to get as many minutes as possible under his belt this season. But when he has played, he's been pretty impressive, and certainly a million miles better than the form we saw from him last season. Pedro Mendes. A player who will be a little less well known to some of you, I suspect, Pedro Mendes plays for 11th place La Liga outfit Celta Vigo. The 21-year-old was promoted from Celta B in the 3rd tier of Spanish football to the first team in La Liga ahead of the start of the 2017-18 season, but failed to make much of an impression in his debut campaign, recording just 1 goal and 1 assist from 20 appearances. It's been a completely different story this season though, as Mendes has been one of the most eye-catching players in the division. A typical classy and intelligent Spanish midfielder, Mendes has scored 4 goals and made 5 assists in just 12 appearances so far this season, making him one of the most productive midfield players in La Liga. His form has been so impressive that he was handed his first cap for Spain last month, coming on as a second-half substitute and scoring the only goal of the game in a 1-0 win over Bosnia and Herzegovina, so it's fair to say the campaign is going pretty well for Mendes. He has already been heavily linked with a move to Leicester City, but if he maintains his current form at Celta until the end of the season, he may well be setting his sights even higher. Callum Wilson. Now, Callum Wilson is a player we have been a big fan of ever since his prolific League One campaign with Coventry that prompted Eddie Howe into signing him, so we can't say that his rich vein of form this season has come as a total surprise. Nevertheless, Wilson has probably exceeded even our high expectations of him so far this term, having bagged 8 goals in 15 Premier League games. Finding a strike capable of scoring better than a goal every other game, especially outside of the top 6, is not easy in the Premier League, but that's the rate of goal scoring that Wilson is maintaining at the moment. It's quite possible that we'd have seen this level of performance from the Englishman 3 years ago were it not for that horrible ACL injury that he sustained in September 2015. Less than a month after scoring his first Premier League hat-trick. He's certainly firing on all cylinders now though, and at the time of this recording, only Mohamed Salah, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Harry Kane have scored more goals in the Premier League, and none have as many assists as Wilson. As with Mendes, Wilson recently won his first cap and scored his first goal for his country, making it 1 from 1 for the 3 lines, and we'd expect him to add plenty more caps and goals over the next few years. Glenn Murray. Staying in the Premier League, and another man who has been amongst the goals this season, I think a lot of people may have felt that Glenn Murray had hit his ceiling for Brighton last season. The 6-foot frontman bagged 12 in the league and 14 in all competitions. A very respectable record for a former non-league man in his mid-30s whose previous highest tally in the Premier League stood at 7. Those people, and I must admit I may have been one of them despite being a huge fan of Murray's, have been proved enormously wrong. He has scored 8 goals this season, the same number as Callum Wilson and Sergio Aguero, at the grand old age of 35 and in a hardly free-scoring Brighton team. Smart and clinical, Murray's game relies upon his fantastic movement and neat finishing. He is no stranger to scoring prolifically, but never at this rate in the Premier League, with some suspecting that he fell into that category of player who is too good for one division, but not quite good enough for the one above it. It's hard to see Murray keeping on improving, given his age, but he's set for a remarkable campaign if he maintains his current rate of scoring, and it's refreshing to have a player of his vintage make this 7. Lucas Moura. Lucas Moura was always on my shortlist for this 7, but after his crucial Champions League group stage strike away at Barcelona, he had to make the cut. That's not the first big goal Moura has scored for Spurs this season. Indeed, you may recall that he scored 2 of Tottenham's 3 goals in their 3-0 win away at Manchester United back in August. His contribution in the first half of this season has been incomparable to last season, a campaign which saw him frozen out at PSG and relatively invisible following a move to Tottenham. He seems to have got to grips with life in North London and the way in which Maurizio Pochettino wants his team to play this term though, and even with the presence of the likes of Dele Alli, Son Heung-min and Christian Eriksen, it looks as though Moura has a major role to play. As well as his 8 goals in all competitions this season, Moura has brought raw pace, real energy and a slightly different proposition to Tottenham's attack. He could soon look like an absolute bargain in today's market at £25 million. Emiliano Salah. This is the second time in only a month or so that Emiliano Salah has featured on this channel, and that is because the Argentinian late bloomer is having a truly remarkable campaign. The 28-year-old, who has been with Nantes since 2015, has matched the tally of 12 goals that he has set in each of the last 2 seasons already. Except, whilst it took him 34 starts to hit that figure last season, it's taken him only 13 this season, as he teeters close to a goal a game for the mid-table outfit. That goal-scoring output currently puts him joint top of the league on scoring charts, tied with Kylian Mbappe, and by nature then, ahead of the likes of Falcao, Neymar and Edinson Cavani. Currently being linked with a January move to Cardiff City, Salah is 6 foot 2 inches tall, hard-working and strong in the air, so he'd suit a Neil Warnock side down to the ground. Honourable mentions. There are plenty of players who we could mention here, from the likes of Robert Snodgrass and Javier Hernandez at West Ham, to Ben Chilwell at Leicester City, and Ryan Fraser at Bournemouth. One thing we wanted to clear up is that we haven't included very young players, such as Jadon Sancho, who, although he has performed beyond expectations this season, is so young that one would expect him to improve season upon season at this stage of his career. Then there's someone like Marco Reus, who has been tremendous for Borussia Dortmund as they have emerged as real title challengers once more, but he was actually pretty impressive when fit last season. He just spent the majority of the campaign out injured. Other players who made our shortlist but not the final 7 include Roberto Pereira at Watford, Thorgan Hazard at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Timothy Bakayoko at AC Milan. Paco Alcacer. The man who has to top this 7, it's been a stunning turnaround this season for Paco Alcacer, who can't stop scoring for Borussia Dortmund. Joint top of the Bundesliga scoring charts with 10 goals at the time of this recording, Alcacer has averaged a goal every 36 minutes in the top flight of German football. That stat is so extraordinary, I'm going to have to repeat it. A goal every 36 minutes. Once more, just for good measure, every 36 minutes, he scored a goal, on average this season. Spread out over 90 minutes, that's 2.5 goals a game, or 85 goals, over the course of an entire 34-game Bundesliga season if he were to play every minute of every game. That's off the back of a season at Barcelona in which Alcacer scored just 4 goals in 17 La Liga appearances, so it's hard to overlook him when it comes to top spot. An old-school poacher, a type of forward that has almost died out, Alcacer has a sixth sense for sniffing out chances and excellent composure when through on goal. His fine form has seen him recalled to the Spain squad for the first time in 2 years, and he's scored 3 goals from 2 caps since earning that recall. It's little wonder that Dortmund have already exercised their option to purchase the 25-year-old for €23 million. He could be worth treble that once the season comes to an end. So that's it for our 7. Thanks for watching, feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications for more from us if you enjoyed the video, and you can now also follow us on Twitter for more ramblings from me. Our username is simply @HITC Sevens.